This is Duo 100 Days in Hardcore Minecraft, but instead of another person, I'm doing it with my clone, which is basically a copy and pasted version of me. Will we be able to survive 100 days in Hardcore Minecraft? And will we be able to work together? Keep watching to find out. Day 1 started and straight away I was very lonely, so I went looking for my clone. And just around this corner, I found him punching a tree. It was so weird seeing another LockDownLife alive. I then got a bit curious and decided to see what he would do if I hit him. And I think we became friends. He even gave me some of his wood. After that, he ran away, so I followed him to see what he was doing. And whilst I was watching him chop down another tree, we were attacked by some pillagers. So we teamed up to fight the pillagers together. And I think this was the start of a great friendship with my clone. Next, we went around collecting some more wood, and he even made me some tools. And I could tell he was a LockDownLife clone when he started attacking this innocent rabbit with his stick. Good LockDownLife clone. By the start of day 2, we were very hungry from all the pillager and rabbit killing. So we decided to go hunting for some more food. If I was this rabbit and I saw 2 LockDownLives with wooden axes coming after me, I'd be terrified too. I also killed the squid because why not? We continued our quest for food into the rivers and managed to kill lots of fish. I also found some armor in a ruined nether portal chest, and now my clone and I felt a bit more safe. Then it was back to killing animals. Later on in the day, this zombie attacked me and set me on fire. But luckily, my clone was there to save my life, and without him, I would have been dead for sure. So I said thank you and got some food cooking to regenerate my health. I then spent the night eating food and talking to myself. On day 3, I started the day by crafting myself a stone pickaxe. Then I gathered up some nearby iron, and my clone and I took on a pair of creepers. Afterwards, this creeper surprised both of us, and I stupidly nearly got myself killed. I was down to half a heart, and my clone wasn't very happy with me. But thankfully, we managed to get back to mining. Later on in the day, my clone and I decided to split up and go and gather some more food. This would be twice as fast as if I did it on my own, because there was now 2 of me. A lot of dead animals later, I returned home to find my clone had already made us both a bed. I was pretty happy about this as I was very tired, so I went straight to sleep. The next day, we set out to visit a village that Clone LockDownLife had seen whilst killing animals before. But on our way there, I noticed it was a bit strange that Clone LockDownLife didn't stop to kill a horse like I did. However, I thought maybe he just didn't see them. So we carried on into the village and explored each household. We then worked together to slaughter the iron golem and take his juicy ingots. Clone LockDownLife also got me some iron boots from the blacksmith, but I decided he could have them as I already had some boots. Afterwards, I murdered some cows, and we worked together to make this cat not be alive anymore. Then we spent absolutely ages looking for the chest to this ruined nether portal. And finally I found it, and got myself a nice golden apple. Afterwards it was time to head back to base because it was quickly becoming night. Whilst we're walking back home, I might as well tell you the 3 goals for these 100 days. My first goal was to discover if having a clone was a good or bad thing. Our second goal was to get a full set of netherite armor and tools each. And finally, our third goal was to work together to kill the Ender Dragon. But with those goals in mind, let's get straight into day 5. On the morning of day 5, we murdered a group of angry zombies. And then we got prepared for a nice long mining trip. We made sure we had all the food we needed, and then we got to mining in the nearby ravine. Having 2 LockDownLives to mine with made this process a lot faster, and we quickly cleared out the ravine of all the iron and coal it had to offer. We then found out that it led to an abandoned mine shaft, and we decided we were going to explore it, but we'd have to be careful because if either of us died once, it would be all over. We had some close calls with the pesky cave spiders, but in the end, my clone and I found the mine shaft to be very rewarding. And by the end of day 9, we were pretty geared up. So by day 10, we were ready to take on the cave spiders. And of course, we destroyed their life source, as well as murdering the stray spiders. Afterwards, my clone found us a zombie spawner, which could be very useful for XP later on in these 100 days. So I was pretty happy with my clone. And I rewarded him by making him dig a pathway to the surface. As I thought, what's the point in having a clone if you can't make them do all your stuff for you? Day 11 started by my clone saving me from a very angry ending, man. That was very close. Then I made my clone collect me some wood. It was very satisfying just watching the clone do all the hard work for me. What a good little lockdown life. But I still had to show him who was boss. Then he gave me a rose as a peace offering. Afterwards, we continued looking for a place to build our new base. We nearly built it by this flower biome, but instead we opted for this nice little clearing. Oh, by the way, guys, if you get this video to 30,000 likes, then the next video I post will be a duo 100 days in hardcore Minecraft with gamers. We then spent the next few days flattening out our area, with the odd zombie trying to stop us along the way. Then on day 15, it was time to collect some wood. And starting on day 16, I spent a few days building the base whilst my clone was lighting up the area a little bit and collecting some more resources for the base. Oh, and during this time, we managed to trap some chickens in a little tiny hole. And by the end of day 18, I decided to stop building and finish the house later on. Day 19 was a boring day moving stuff from our old base into our new house. Oh, and later on, I also set my clone on some creepers, because it seemed a bit too dangerous for me. The next day, we decided to start up a farm, but whilst tilling the ground, my hoe broke. So I commanded my clone to give me his hoe. And of course, he did. A bit later, my clone and I stared at the chickens, who probably thought we were gonna let them out. But instead, we just hoed the surrounding ground and left a chicken hole in the middle of our farm. That's the lockdown life way. Some more farming later, and we were getting pretty tired, so we decided to go to bed and continue in the morning. After the whole next day of farming, we were feeling pretty satisfied with our farm so far. But there was something missing in our lives. And that thing was diamonds. So the next day we set out to explore the caves under our base, in the hopes that we would stumble across some diamonds. Little did we know this was a massive cave system, and it was very easy to get lost. But we managed to keep our wits about us and watch each other's back. And eventually, after a few days of searching, we actually found some diamonds. And because I'm such a nice guy, I let my clone mine the diamonds for me. And sadly, it was only 2. Afterwards, I was fed up of being nice and I smacked my clone into a lava pool. But don't worry, he survived. We continued searching for diamonds for a short while longer, but we were getting very unlucky and couldn't find any diamonds. So we decided to head back to base. Day 25 was a day of farming and chicken luring. And for some reason, the chickens seemed to prefer clone lockdown life to normal lockdown life. Strange. And just before bed, I did a spot of nighttime chicken breeding. The next day, we were determined to get some more diamonds. So we decided to do a strip mine. And because there was 2 of me, I'd be able to find diamonds a lot faster. So we didn't mess around and got straight to it. Let the mining begin. This strip mining session was very successful, and also quite eventful. Yes, we did find quite a lot of diamonds, but Clone Lockdown Life kind of tried to kill me. I don't know if he did it on purpose or not, but he knocked me into a lava pool and I nearly died. I might have to keep an eye on him. On day 31, it was time to have some fun. So my clone and I thought it would be a good idea to build a diving board up to the build limit, and then both attempt to jump into the water source. My clone was worried that he wouldn't make it, so I gave him a little nudge. And thankfully he made it. I mean, I could have always got another clone, But now it was my turn and I had to land this. And of course I did. But these skeletons weren't very happy I survived. So we had to murder them all. On the morning of day 32, we realized mobs were getting to us far too easily. So we thought we should probably set up some kind of perimeter around our base. So I spent the remainder of the day laying out the foundations to a wall around our base. And Clone LockDownLife was collecting materials for the wall. Then on day 33, construction began. And by the end of day 35, this was the finished wall. On day 37, it was farming time. We set out with the goal of making that bread. Oh, and I finally covered up the chicken hole. Once we had made all the bread, my clone was very happy with it, as you can see. Afterwards, I bombarded the baby chickens with some eggs. Then I planted some sugarcane, and the creeper loved it so much he made a nice little waterfall. Later on, I saw a squid vibing. And just before bed, I watched my clone eat some bread. We spent the morning of day 38 getting prepared to go into the Nether. We made sure we were wearing a piece of gold armor, and even made ourselves some fresh diamond axes. And with enough bread to feed a village of hungry villagers, we were ready to go into the Nether. So we explored our cave system until we found a nice little lava pool. And instead of crafting a diamond pickaxe, we decided to use water buckets and lava buckets to make the portal. Yeah, I was the only LockDownLife that knew how to do this, so it looks like it was up to me. I got it done pretty quickly, and soon we were off to the Nether. Straight away we looked around and saw a bastion. But at this stage we were kind of only interested in the Nether fortress. I then saved my clone and I by smacking a fireball back into a ghast's face. Afterwards, we stole a lot of gold from these stupid piglins. I also saw this baby zombified piglin on a chicken. And of course I had to murder it. Afterwards, I tested my clone's parkour ability, and he just about passed. Then the next couple of days were just us wandering around the Nether looking for the Nether fortress. All we could find were bastions. But then eventually Clone LockDownLife found it, which I was very happy about. And now it was blaze rod time. We had managed to find two spawners that were very close to each other, so we could each be at one, maximizing the efficiency of collecting blaze rods, which would make it twice as fast. And a short while later, we had an awesome 12 blaze rods. And on day 45, we returned home, exhausted from our journey, and went straight to sleep. The next day, we built a cow pen, and then I spotted my clone being a bit weird. Afterwards, we went looking for cows, but they seemed to be hiding from us. Eventually, we found them and tried to lure them back to base, but it always seemed like they wanted to follow Clone LockDownLife more than me, which I thought was a bit suspicious, considering he is meant to be the exact same as me. Luring these cows back to base took ages, and at one point, this husk thought it was a cow. Silly husk. But eventually we managed to get them in the pen, and I threw an egg at one just before going to sleep. In the morning, I watched some chickens lay some eggs. Then I found out that my clone was immune to eggs. And afterwards, we set out on a search to get some dogs. But we didn't have much luck, and we were forced to sleep in this village. But then on day 48, we got lucky and got ourselves some dogs. Just look how cute he is. And I think you already know what I'm going to call him. Next, we let our dogs go on a rampage, killing all the local wildlife, including these very annoying llamas that were spitting all over us. And when we got back to our base on day 49, I dyed my dog's color blue and, of course, named him Mark. But that's when I noticed another strange thing about my clone. He didn't want to call his dog Mark. which is like one of the main things that makes a lockdown life a lockdown life. Oh, and he decided to dye the color yellow instead of blue. Something was definitely really wrong, but I didn't really know what to expect. So once again, I just ignored it for now. I spent day 50 prepping resources for building, as well as creating baby cows. Meanwhile, my clone was nowhere to be seen, but I guess we all deserve some alone time. So I just got on with it, and spent the next week or so working on the house. It took a lot longer than I thought it would because I didn't have my clone around to help me. However, I managed to get it done, and this was the final result. On day 59, Clone LockDownLife came back and said he had been fishing all that time. He had a fishing rod in his hand and he even got a saddle from fishing, but apparently he only caught 27 fish, which is very low for an entire week of fishing. However, I was happy to have him back and we went to sleep. The next day we did some improvements to the inside of the house, and then I supervised Clone LockDownLife while he was farming, and eventually I helped out too. The next day I felt a bit more connected with Clone LockDownLife, and we decided to do a tandem jump from the very top of the diving board. And you already know we landed it. Plus, the view of our farm was pretty good from all the way up there. Oh, and Clone LockDownLife even saved me from an invading spider jockey. It attacked me from out of nowhere. Then on day 62, we decided we would need a lot more diamonds, as we only had about 20 to our name. So I crafted up a bunch of iron pickaxes and we went down to the mine. Let the mining begin. Strip mining with my clone was very fun, as it felt like a sort of race against myself. We also managed to get a lot of diamonds, but I managed to get just a little bit more, which made Clone LockDownLife very jealous. Day 68 started as a relaxing day. We made some baby chickens, and I killed the escape artist, but my clone wanted to let him live. Sorry, clone. But then there was a terrifying thunderstorm. Lightning was striking all around us, and we were scared our house was going to be struck. But we were also very curious as we wanted to find a supercharged creeper. And after some searching, on day 69, we found a supercharged creeper. Nice. But we accidentally led him into our base, and were very worried that he was going to destroy all of our hard work. But luckily, I managed to defuse the creeper, so we lived to murder cows another day. Day 70 was the start of the sheep era of these 100 days. Let me explain. Because one of our goals is to get a full set of netherite armor and tools, we would need a lot of beds to go mining for netherite, as this is probably the most effective way at our stage in hardcore Minecraft. And of course, you need a lot of wool to make a lot of beds, which meant we would need a lot of sheep. So on day 70, I went out looking for some sheep and found some. Then it took me the rest of the day to get the sheep back to base. And all this time, my clone was AFK, but he did eventually help me get the sheep into the pen. The next day, I admired how crammed the chickens were in their tiny little pen. And whilst we were waiting for the sheep to be able to breed again, we decided to do some interior decorating. It wasn't the best, I know, but us lockdown lives aren't very picky, so it didn't really matter that much. The rest of the day consisted of collecting wheat and breeding up the sheep some more. Oh, and I also made some shears so that I could start making the sheep naked. And on day 73, I dyed all the sheep white, so we would have the same colored wool to make making beds a lot easier. Oh, I also egged my clone. And made him collect some sugarcane. As well as that, day 73 was also the day I couldn't find Mark. I checked everywhere but still couldn't find him. For the next 2 days, our home was basically a wool factory. All we do was collect wheat, breed the sheep, and shear them, and then repeat this process over and over again. By day 76, we could make a lot of beds. In fact, we were pretty confident that we would have enough beds to get all the ancient debris we would need. So we set off into the Nether to find some ancient debris. I carefully dug down in a place that wasn't over a lava pool, and then we decided to branch out at Y14. Is this the right height? Let me know in the comments down below. I knew I was going to get lucky when I dug out the tunnel and found ancient debris straight away. So my clone and I went in opposite directions and began using the beds. We dug out little tunnels and then placed the bed and sheltered behind the netherrack so that when the bed blew up, it wouldn't really hurt us. We then spent the next 9 or 10 days doing this. And as you can see from all these clips, I got very lucky. To be honest, I've done this before and I got nowhere near as lucky as I did this time. But eventually I ran out of beds, so I decided to use up my diamond pickaxe instead. And on day 85, I had managed to return home with 47 ancient debris. But my clone wasn't so lucky and only got 27. However, I'm still pretty sure it was enough. On day 86, it was time to craft some netherite armor and netherite tools. So we got to work smelting the ancient debris and crafted up some ingots. Just look at how stacked we were. We felt very rich. After flexing for a little bit, we wasted no time in crafting up our full set of netherite armor and tools. And just look at how good we looked. The next day we set our sights on getting an enchanting table. And after a day of collecting sugarcane, mining obsidian, and murdering cows, we had ourselves a level 30 enchant table. We then spent all of day 88 enchanting our items. And when we ran out of XP, we just bred the animals and continued enchanting. And by the end of the day, our gear was looking pretty good. We spent day 89 gathering resources and murdering squids. Oh, and also talking about axolotls. On day 90, I started building a doghouse, with the hopes that Mark would come back to me if he had a home. Meanwhile, I sent my clone out to collect some more materials so I could build all the time and he could keep supplying me with materials. The building was going well, so I decided to take a quick break to have a look at the chickens. And you couldn't even see the grass, they were that packed in. But anyways, enough about the chickens and back to building. This day was all about the roof of the doghouse, and I sent the clone out to get me some dye for the floor. My clone gave me some colored concrete powder, and then we turned it into concrete together. I built up a tower of concrete powder and then wrote it down as my clone mined it. This was a nice break from building. Then on day 94, my doghouse was ready. It was even complete with Mark's colors and my clone's dog's colors too. Speaking of which, what should my clone call his dog? Leave your suggestions in the comments down below. Also, I couldn't help but wonder where Mark is, because the doghouse is finished and he's still not back. So I went looking for him, and my clone disappeared. I was also looking through the chest for some pearls, but I could have sworn we had more than that. We were also missing some diamonds. On day 95, we crafted up some bows, and I managed to get Infinity and Unbreaking 3 on my bow, which I was pretty happy with. The rest of the day was filled with more prep for the dragon, as we spent the night looking for and killing as many Endermen as we could. And on day 96, with a bit of luck in the nether, we had managed to get 12 whole ender pearls. And we were pretty much ready to fight the ender dragon. So on day 97, we were doing our final bit of prep, and it turns out my clone already had 6 ender pearls. So now we had 18. Anyways, we threw our first eye and set off in search of the stronghold. We took shelter in this village for the night and murdered a child. Then the next day I made the clone dig down in the place where we thought the stronghold was. But it turns out that was the wrong place. I also may have shot a few arrows at him. Afterwards, I dug down in the right place and fell straight into the stronghold. Now it was time to find the portal. And after some searching, we managed to find it, and I placed the last eye in and we were ready to go. I ate some chicken and then my clone whacked me into the portal. Then of course we began sniping out the end crystals so the dragon couldn't regenerate its health. And a few effective beds later, the dragon only had a fraction of its health left. So I let my clone do the final blow and destroy the dragon. We then captured the dragon egg and went home. On day 100, I was just chilling out, alone, minding my own business, collecting some flowers, when I noticed some lava I hadn't seen before. So I went to check it out, and saw a strange iron door in the middle of the cliff face. So I had to investigate. It was very dark and damp in here, and it looked like some kind of dungeon. But when I turned this corner, my greatest fears were realized. I opened up this creepy book and started reading.
The mission, become the only LockDownLife and steal his YouTube channel. I despise LockDownLife. He murders innocent animals and calls all his dogs Mark. Who does that? He gets me to mine for him, give him my hard-earned tools, and he even nearly pushed me to my death. But little does he know, the very second he takes his eyes off me, I will. Well, I think you know what I'll do.
Oh god, what have I done? There was evil paintings on the wall, netherite armor and tools everywhere, and he had stole the dragon egg. I also opened the chest to find the missing diamonds and gold. But then I heard a bark. And behind this iron door, I found Mark. He had been trapped here all this time with no food and no water. Clone LockDownLife had gone too far, and I needed to confront him about it, and quickly before he did anything more serious. So Mark and I ran home as fast as we could. And when I got home, I found the base in ruins. There were fires everywhere, craters in our land and our farm, and even a giant hole in the wall. Plus, all our animals had been burnt to death by lava. I put Mark inside and went out of the house, and there he was. My evil clone. We began circling each other, and then the fight began.